So good to be here with you all. Welcome to another Mothering Wisdom Mondays, where I'll be offering wisdom on mothering, on parenting, on really connecting with what's here now, on the consciousness of the planet and inner mothering, the inner child. So welcome. It's good to be here with you. What was coming in strongly today was the topic of spiritual parenting and what that means and what it's meant for me, over the last 13 years, having a 13-year-old, and really the moment my child was conceived, I was on a journey on this trajectory of mothering, and it was a ride that I never expected. It was something such as when Spirit graces us in life, it's a personal journey. And so what I share today is my own intimate relationship and connection with Spirit, and how Spirit is really saturated in every part of my life, including mothering, and to share about that, wisdom and what I've learned and how I've grown and how I've supported my son through this journey. And really at the end of it, it's really giving it all to God. When I have a challenge or a situation arise with my mothering, with that connection with my son, I get still and I allow myself to feel the feelings that are coming up, that are arising. A lot of times it's when I'm really calling upon Spirit and God, it's usually during a time, where I forget, and instead of going within, the mind starts to chatter and likes to share its opinions and likes to contract. And so this journey has brought me deeper into that sense of that inner knowing, that inner sense of knowing myself, knowing Spirit within myself, and Spirit being an emanation of what is inside. We can connect with our intuition, our inner guidance, our inner wisdom, our inner compass, but what is receiving, and how is it receiving, and where is it coming from? And for me, it's been cultivating that channel to Spirit, and that Spirit doesn't belong just up there, that Spirit is all around, that there's messengers of God all around, that I have angels, that grace me at the grocery store, or, when we open our hearts, really, it's when we can really open our hearts, that's when we can connect with Spirit, with people around us, and we start to encounter the magic of life that way. And so first it is getting still within ourselves. It's finding that deep presence within and knowing what our inner compass feels like and sharing that. And when we have children, it's not just that we're doing it all alone. They have, like my child, when I reminded myself, or it's come to me, like he has his soul and his guidance system, and he's connected to Spirit, and he's connected to all of creation, that I don't have to muscle my way, force my way, or think my way through it all. I can, yet that's usually when the suffering happens. And it's easy to do that. It's easy to fall in those traps, or to fall into those old habits, because really they're old habits, they're old contractions, they're old belief systems, or they're current belief systems, that are running the show. Perhaps we're parenting the same way, our ancestors have been parenting, or perhaps you're the first one within your lineage that is doing something new and different, and everyone else may or may not be judging the way that you're doing it. For me, without reading any books, it felt right to have my child at home, to have a home birth, to not just rely or give my power to somebody beyond me. And I was prepared, if something were to occur where I needed that medical attention in a different way. There's the awareness there, so it's not going against any system. It's being open to what's here, what's available, and going within. And for me, it felt right. It felt right not to circumcise my son. It just felt right. It felt like, well, that's part of what God gave him. And there's no judgment, because everyone has their own way, their own parenting, their own wisdom. For me, it didn't feel right to immunize right away. It just felt right within. And there's always the peanut gallery out there. It could be close family and friends and loved ones, and people always, when you're pregnant, people are always wanting to give their opinion, and we can listen to that, or we can say thank you, take a breath, take a pause, and listen to what's really within self and what's really connecting with what is in the highest and best for this child. What is really calling upon the wisdom of his soul, her soul. If I say his, it's because I'm referring to my sons, but yes, his or her soul. So spiritual parenting is about finding that connection with yourself. And for me, it took me down a road of not trusting humanity. And so I let go of, I couldn't trust any humans during that, about 13 years ago. I felt like I just can't trust humans, they're hurtful. And so I really let go of humanity in that moment. And I was in a really dark place. But from that place, I learned how to connect with the animals, with spirit, with nature. And from that point on, nature became my source of inspiration, of connection here on earth. There's parts of me that didn't want to be here anymore. And my son brought me to a place of trusting love. He was the first being. I remember he was about less than 1.5 years old, and was sitting there on the bed, and we were just staring at each other, and I was just breathing and connecting. And there was something like we connected with our eyes. And at the same time, he must have been past a year where he could talk. And he said, "I love you, Mama." And at the same time, I felt that love. I felt that. And something within me, like the floodgates of love, broke open, and I felt unconditional love for the first time. And so by pausing and connecting with him, I was able to see him, and he was able to see me, and we were able to be together. And that was a very impressionable moment in my life. It really was a game changer in terms of trusting humanity and trusting love and being in the world in a new way, where I finally found out what love really meant to me. And that moment, it was a very impressionable moment where there was a trust in something even greater, where I began to cultivate that deeper relationship and connection with spirit. And with him, there were certain practices that felt important. So there are practices, yet what I recommend is the love, like really deeply loving. Can you allow your children to enter your heart? Maybe they're the only beings that you let in. And so how to do that? You breathe together, you soften, you connect with the eyes. The eyes reveal so much love. That's where the heart is just pouring from the heart into the eyes, and then into the hands with care, with love, with kindness, with respect, with awareness, with presence. spiritual parenting is about connecting with yourself. It's about allowing yourself to have that deeper self-discovery, to get curious, to bring in that childlike curiosity with yourself. And it's almost like that inner child, when you allow them, him, her to come out to play, then she usually guides you to the elder within, that wisdom within. So really, spiritual parenting is about connecting with self, self-discovery, having fun, opening yourself, staying connected. And the practices to do that, breathing together, being together. We like to sit and have dinner together. If we don't see one another very much throughout the day, we sit. And it's gone from blessings. He goes to a Waldorf school, so he brings in blessings from what they share at school, and now he just wants to eat without doing that anymore. But we found that, like, even toning, just to get into our bodies, to pause before running to the kitchen table, sitting, and then devouring the food. So instead we pause, we connect with each other's eyes, we breathe, and sometimes he's rolling his eyes now at 13. And we found that instead of words, like even just oming or eyeing or we'll all shake, so it's taking a pause. And so feeling, just taking those pauses, or even before bed, reading together. And, we like to read a lot of Indian epic stories. Like right now we're reading the Bhagavad Gita, which is more of like the Cliff Notes version of it. We bring in all sorts of different traditions. I've taken him to Bhakti Fest, which is it's a gathering of beings coming together and chanting 20 hours a day, really God's name, in the desert. And so we used to go. We've gone for 7 years, and he loves going. It's almost like a ritual of going. And this was the first year we weren't able to go because of COVID. But we connect, we sleep under the stars together, so we're connecting with nature, we're chanting, we're building the energy, building the love. I remember at age 3, I asked him, what do you feel while you're here? And that's something else, bringing in questions, the self-inquiry, like, what do you feel here in this moment? What do you feel? And he's like, love. I feel, that's all he said was, I feel love, Mama, and just feeling the joy. And so it's taking the pause. And I also used to prompt him with, asking questions. Like, we used to talk about spirit animals and even bringing that in, for younger children. So now we're coming, I feel like it's appropriate to bring in different practices of how to cultivate, that spirit within. And having a spiritual practice, it's non-dogmatic, that you can invoke these and bring them into your life, even if you don't attend. We haven't attended church in years and years, but we bring in spirit in our day-to-day. Spirit is always here. Spirit is in the presence of our space. We are reminded by it, by what's around us in the home and how we treat one another. And through nature, camping with your children, spending time with them outside, connecting with the animals. Or maybe it's fairies, younger children under 7, they're all in the imagination, in the right side of the brain, where there's creativity and inspiration, and how to continue invoking that and bringing that in, bringing spirit into spirituality, actually connecting and creating that channel. It's a cultivation, it's a practice. So it's not like we're just from the mind calling in angels or guides. We're slowing down, and maybe you're sitting and meditating. We're going to be in stillness for a moment. We're going to be quiet. Mommy needs some space in this moment. So let's be still together and breathe and connect with our bodies. And what are you feeling? What kind of animal do you feel like right now? My son used to feel like a dolphin, and cheetah would come up a lot, and different falcons and birds. And even bringing out divination cards, and it's not even for that divination part, it's just even feeling energy. And so I'd say, okay, let's pick a card, and close your eyes, and you would scan, and we can rub our hands together. If this is so new to you, just rub your hands in this moment. The energy that we're all woven and interconnected by this web of energy, and that you can feel your own energy. And that is the emanation of spirit. That is what animates all of us. This life force, this energy, this pranic life force field around us. It's that we're all connected. Just taking a moment to allow all this to, if this is new for you, to tap in, and it's a personal experience, and it's a deep, intimate experience. And my intention for sharing is because this has supported me in the most challenging parts of my life, where I feel like, I can't be still right now. I have to keep moving because I have to feed my son, and I have to X, Y, and Z and get the list done. But the most powerful, potent moments have been when I pause and I connect with myself. I can breathe. I even put my hand on my body, and then I connect with my child, and they feel that. They feel, all they want is to feel love and connection. And within that, the energy will start to flow between you. They'll start to feel that connection to all of creation. If we don't feel trust within ourselves and our bodies, then how many of you, including myself, would escape? That I was kind of klutzy growing up. I just didn't feel safe in the world. And how can we allow our children to rest into their being and to feel that peace and that inner reflection, and to cultivate that simply by love? And we can bring in practices. I used to go to he used to love crystals, and so we'd go to the crystal shop, and he was about 3 years old, and we used to live in community, and I just said, okay, let's think about so-and-so and pick a crystal for them. And he would pick, and I would put it in a bag with their name in it, and then he would pick another. I would bring up their other name. Okay, really connect with their heart. Let's connect. And he would pick another one and put their name. And then, we would look up the meaning of them, or I did. I wouldn't share, because with kids, it's not about the mental, I have found, that it's about the imagination, it's about the energy, it's about the feeling. And I would look them up, the crystals and their meaning, and it was always so perfect for each person. And they also reflected that. And that children are so connected, from 0 when they're born till about 7, they're really, really connected to creation. They're closer to creation. That's where they came from. And then beyond that, their soul starts to go on its own journey. From 7 to 9, the 9-year change starts to happen. It's like a pre-pubescent time, where at one moment they're 13, the next moment they're 3, and there's that kind of fall energy. It's not quite winter, it's not quite summer. And so it's just really honoring the transitions of children and returning back to their essence of who they are. And a lot of times before 5 years old, you can tell their character and their nature and their tendencies and what they lean towards. And so for older children, if they're beyond, like I would say 12 on up, what inspired them when they were younger? What were they like? What did they gravitate towards? And tuning into how that can translate to when they're older, and how you can remind them if they're not feeling inspired, they're not feeling connected with themselves. Because they really do. I have this analogy of my son's 13, where I'm right at the shore of the ocean, and he's started on the journey away from me, becoming a man. And he's probably maybe about chest high in the ocean. And at some point he's going to just keep moving right. I won't really be able to access him as much. And for me to let go and let God, let spirit guide his way, and to trust, that they need to go on their journey. And so watching if we're overprotective, watching where those tendencies come from. Is it out of fear? And how can we hold them, and how can we hold ourselves in the love, in the trust, in the connection? So if you are a mother or father, if you're not a mother and father, how can you hold that inner child within you, and with love, with connection, and heal those parts of you maybe that weren't able to receive that, or maybe you don't even know what that means. And so getting curious to how you can connect deeper with yourself, and therefore feeling that line of connection with spirit, like feeling it's such an intimate relationship of just closing your eyes and seeing if you can feel like beyond the mind, beyond the stuff, if you can just allow the energy to settle within you, and to feel beyond the skin, to feel beyond the edges of the skin, and to feel interconnected with all of creation. So I'll leave you with that exploration of yourself. And if you have children, I invite you to pause with them more and connect with them, to connect with their eyes, and with that caring, with that sincere care and love, and slowing down, that it's beyond the disciplining of behavior. There is some of that. There's the boundary work that we can talk more in a different video, different conversation. But sometimes they're reflecting back what they're not receiving from us. And so this spiritual parenting is about really returning back to yourself, and how you can do that deeper work so that they can feel that connection and that interconnection. So thank you so much for joining me today for another Mothering Wisdom Mondays. I will see you next week. You're welcome to reach out to me, and love hearing from you. So thank you for being here. Thank you all for joining me. Much love.